Welcome back to the Business and Medicine podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Kuchtra, an M2 at the Schulich School of Medicine, here to bring you another exciting podcast. Today, we're going to be covering the very important topic of long-term savings and the importance of starting to save as a medical student. We'll also be covering some key strategies and tools that medical students and residents can begin to use right now to achieve their retirement goals. Today, we're joined by Guillermo Nafarrate, who is a regional advisor with OMA Insurance, covering Central West Ontario. He has experience as a retirement and investing advisor at RBC, as well as a private wealth manager running his own financial practice. As a business owner, he understands the challenges of entrepreneurship and is passionate about helping business owners scale their companies. Guillermo holds a master's degree in corporate finance and banking from the University of Barcelona. When he's not supporting OMA members, you can find him traveling, on the ice, or on the golf course. Welcome to the show, Guillermo.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Adrian. Happy to be here.
Did you get a lot of golfing done this summer?
I tried to, it's one of the few things that we could do with the pandemic for the last 2 years. So I try to do that, but not as much as I would like now that I'm living downtown. It's a little bit hard to get up north there, but I did squeeze a few rounds in.
Good to hear. I recently got the membership at a course back home in Sudbury. It's a lot of fun. Once you have a membership, you're kind of committed to go. So it gives you the chance to improve a little bit.
What a sport.
I love it. I know. It's great pastime. So we have lots to talk about today. Why don't you tell us a little bit of what initially got you interested in corporate finance and banking? Expand on your current role with OMA Insurance.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I grew up looking up to my dad. He really is the salt of the earth to me. Really great man. He's big in the finance industry. So naturally, my interest in corporate finance and banking was sparked through seeing him and learning from him. He taught me enough to get curious and want to enter the space. So I started at the banks, as you know, and moved into running my own wealth practice. Now transitioned here at OMA as a regional advisor. And here at OMA, we help our members with their insurance and retirement needs. As you know, OMA is a non-for-profit organization. And now I'm a licensed advisor in the province of Ontario through the OMA.
That's awesome. So how do your roles differ between OMA Insurance and with your own private wealth financial practice?
Well, the roles differ drastically because the private side was commission-based role, while the current roles are not-for-profit role. I prefer the not-for-profit role because eliminating the commissions has allowed me to focus on the member's need and finding most cost-effective solutions. It does create that environment of trust and allows me to work alongside individuals who will want to focus all my energy and time on members who need that high level holistic advice. When you're commissioned, you work with all sorts of individuals from all walks of life. And I decided that working with doctors and physicians, because they need unique strategies and there's some opportunities that I could assist them with. And doctors are vital to our community. If I can be someone who protects them and their family and bring value to their life, then that's rewarding work.
Yeah, I love that. I feel the commission based, sometimes you're probably more pressured to focus on the specific offerings for the company. And so when it's not commission based, you have that opportunity to really focus on the needs of the individual and to identify, whatever they're interested in, whatever fits best for their retirement goals. I think it really helps to build the connection between advisor and physician or individual.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I found this out right away working for the banks, very goal oriented and sales oriented, and you have to hit your sales numbers or, not that I had any issues with that, but it just wasn't the environment that fits my style of, planning with my members. So that's kind of more in line with what I like to do now with the OMA.
And now a word from our sponsor. This podcast is sponsored by OMA Insurance, the exclusive provider for the OMSA and the CFMS. Well over half of the medical students in Ontario choose and trust OMA Insurance because they are a wholly owned subsidiary of the Ontario Medical Association. As a not-for-profit and using the group buying power of well over half of Ontario physicians, OMA Insurance provides a wide range of insurance and retirement savings solutions for medical students, residents, and physician members. They have non-commissioned staff who offer objective advice, education, and solutions. OMA Insurance can help you prepare for the unexpected and help get you back on your feet when you need it the most. For instance, did you know that if you take more than 6 weeks off of medical school, you have to restart the year again? And if you're off for 6 months straight, the bank can start to ask for repayment on your line of credit. I personally have disability coverage with OMA insurance. I got it because school is stressful enough, and I believe it can help keep me and my finances safe during times of uncertainty. Plus, it's affordable and super easy to enroll. Make sure you're protected, because if the last 2 years has taught us anything, it's that life can be very uncertain. OMA Insurance is there to protect you every step of the way. Go to omainsurance.com to learn more about our special offer and exclusive savings for students.
So let's start talking about savings. I'm going to kind of start with a broad question here. But basically, why is it important for medical students to begin saving now? And then maybe you can dive into some of your top tips for how to save as a medical student.
Well, the sooner you begin saving, whether it's for retirement or any other goal, the better. When you start early, you can afford to put away less money per month since compounding interest is on your side. And really, for millennials, the most important thing about saving is getting started. The minimum investment with the OMA is only $50 a month. So you can make coffee at home, forgo that Starbucks coffee and start building some savings. It could be, like I said, for short-term goals, such as a down payment for a house or for long-term goals. Whatever the goal is, the sooner you start, the better to allow for compounding to take its course.
So, kind of building off of that, as a medical student, I know just from personal experience, most of the people I know don't have any streams of income going in. A lot of what they're paying for tuition is from the line of credit. I'd say 50-50 people will work in the summer. But you mentioned that $50 a month deposit. How do medical students kind of approach that?
Well, there's various ways of doing it, right? Like you can make annual contributions as well. So you can work hard in the summer and then make a contribution, put something away, right? Just to get something going. Or if you do have some sort of a, cash flow on a monthly basis, you're able to do that. We did just recently bring down the minimum to 50 to try to help those students. So there are various ways of doing that. At the end of the day, it all comes down to budgeting, right? So if you do have some sort of cash flow, then there are ways that we can help you to try to create some sort of a excess cash flow at the end of the month, so you can redirect that cash flow into things that will put you better ahead. Paying down debt, redirecting that towards savings, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, great advice. So one question I get is that medical students or residents will have a significant amount of debt as they leave medical school. So how should students balance paying off their debt in addition to the long-term savings? So what kind of plan should they have when they finish school and start to have that steady income?
Yeah, that's a good question. It really all comes down to the opportunity cost, because the end goal every year is to increase your net worth, which is calculated as your assets minus liabilities. So you want to increase those assets and decrease your liabilities over time. So there's good debt and bad debt. A student loan to become a doctor is good debt, right? You're acquiring the greatest asset of your lifetime, arguably, the ability to make the income that you're going to be making. So that's good debt to take on. The plan will really vary case by case, Adrian. Like we got to look at what the interest rates on the loan is, what the cash flow is, but generally speaking, you want to definitely, pay your bills, pay your debt, and if there's any cash left over, save it so that you build an emergency line. Otherwise, if something goes sideways along, your early progression, you've just increased your debt all over again. So you should aim to have 3 to 6 months worth of income saved up somewhere. And I'm going to gladly shortly here discuss how we can do that through a new program that we've just launched.
Yeah, why don't we get into that? I know the OMA insurance provides that unique option called the Advantage Group Retirement Savings Plan. I think that's kind of what we're getting into here, an option for medical students to, I think, provide some advice and also help in starting out that savings process. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about the plan?
Yeah, for sure. The Advantages Retirement Plan is our new program platform designed for our members to help them save for various goals, including retirement. Members and their spouses can open up RSPs and TFSAs with the OMA. We partnered with a firm called BlackRock. I'm not sure if you ever heard of BlackRock, but they're the largest asset manager in North America, if not the world. They manage a 9.6 trillion US dollars. It's a significant level of assets under management. And the reason for partnering with them is that they are managers of choice for numerous pension companies, including the Teachers Pension Plan, Hoop, and many other pension companies. They have proprietary products called iShares. These products are exchange traded funds. They are extremely low target dated funds that are proven to achieve returns higher than market averages. Target dated funds are optimal because they tactically rebalance as you approach your target date. There was a study done by the University of Pennsylvania, I think it's Wharton. They conducted a study that shows that target dated funds can achieve 50% more wealth over a span of 30 years. Therefore, we decided to offer target dated portfolios comprised of ETFs. The fee is 0.6% for assets under management, as opposed to a management expense ratio at the bank through like a mutual fund of, it's typically 2% plus, depending on what kind of fund you're selecting. But as I had mentioned earlier, the minimum contribution is $50 per month. It can be set up from automatic contributions from your bank account. The platform also gives our members free access to unique financial and retirement planning software and calculators to really help you take control of your finances. And the program also has a pension feature, which is extremely unique to us, in which our members can purchase life annuities inside their RSPs. Annuities allow the members to guarantee income for life. Think of it as a reversed life insurance policy in which you give a lump sum and the insurance company will pay you a monthly premium for life. This works well for members who are concerned about longevity risk. We are, unique in the sense that instead of a lump sum, our members can also make monthly contributions into this. However, hopefully, if you start saving early, you will not have this, issue in mind of longevity risk, but you can have the combination of the two inside of this program. And basically, that kind of wraps it up in a quick note.
That's great. You answered a lot of the questions I had about it in that. Basically, when someone is interested in the program, they're going to meet with an advisor. So what's the process like? Are they together with the advisors creating a plan for what kind of ETFs they're investing in? Do they have options to kind of vary away from this plan and put more money in different ETFs? Kind of like, how did this process work?
Yeah, amazing questions here. Basically, we sit down with the member. We go through a process of enrollment. Those processes are first going to be utilizing the financial and retirement planning software calculators. We're going to do a little calculation to determine how much we will eventually need to put away every month in order to hit your goals. Based off of your time horizon, objectives, risk tolerance, the system is going to recommend a recommended portfolio. For a student, you're going to have majority of assets under equities, just a very small portion of maybe some real estate investment trust. Interest rates are all-time low. So there are some things that we consider when creating a portfolio for you, such as inflation, right? So because interest rates are all-time low, and because of the age group and the time horizon to go for retirement, especially as a student, you're going to have ETFs that are comprised mostly of equities. Now, these equities are going to be all large cap equities, focusing on sectors that make sense, especially now with COVID-19. It's going to be focused solely on things like technology, healthcare, things that are continuously creating a cash flow no matter what is going on in the market. And we go through a process of educating our members as well, so that through time they're comfortable with the elections that we're making. Things such as like volatility, what that looks like, how do we kind of break down total risk in the portfolio, just to get a better understanding of that, and how asset classes work in different different stages of economic cycles and things like that. But we're basically here to help. We go through the whole process of enrollment. We kind of elect a target dated fund based off of their time horizon objective. Let's say they want to retire, 30 years from now, then we will elect a 2050 target dated fund. What these funds do is over time, as you approach that target dated fund, they will tactically rebalance it for you. BlackRock will take some of the growth from the equities and they will start to purchase more fixed income securities in the portfolio. This optimizes your pathway towards retirement in the most in the most efficient way through that efficiency curve. That is the study done through Pennsylvania University, showing that having this approach will basically generate greater wealth and preserve the wealth over time. So that's kind of the process. Is we go through point A to B, and we kind of go through the calculators, determine what those goals are, go through some financial and non-financial questions, and then implement a portfolio that makes sense for that member.
Right. Thanks for clarifying that. It's a great process because you also provide that education to help individuals make a well-informed choice.
Super important. Super important.
Before going forward, we should actually clarify, just in case some of our listeners maybe don't know the difference between investing in stocks, ETFs, and mutual funds. So maybe could you give like a brief summary of the three?
Sure. Well, there's various ways of approaching this here, but basically there's various asset classes, right? When constructing a portfolio, basically a stock is ownership in a company. So when you are basically purchasing stock, you are becoming a part owner of that company in hopes that your ownership of that company rises over time. The value of the company grows over time. Fixed income can be, anything from a guaranteed investment certificate, a bond, both municipal, corporate. It could also be looked at, kind of like a real estate investment trust, this sort of a principal protected note, this sort of stuff. Each different investment will trigger, different tax consequences but for the purpose of ARP, we will get into each account that has its own tax benefit. So really the tax is not really a huge issue here. With ETFs, basically what it does is it tracks a specific index or a sector. It's a basket of various securities. So you're not just purchasing, let's say, one stock, call it Apple. What you're doing is you're purchasing an ETF that will track a specific sector, such as technology. And inside this index, you will have Apple, Amazon, Netflix, so on and so on, Microsoft, Adobe, right? So you're really tracking that sector. What this does is it achieves instant diversification for the member, as opposed to buying, one Amazon stock is $1,000. Instead, you can take that $1,000, and now you have achieved instant diversification in the sector and spreading that money across various different companies. ETFs are extremely low fee, which is why we've elected to go for that, because we're looking at a cost matrix of cost and return on investment, along with the tactical rebalancing of the portfolios through BlackRock. This is the most optimal solution for us. So just to kind of summarize, an ETF will hold various different securities. Depending on the time horizon, you will have greater weighting into one or greater weighting into the other if you are close to retirement, right? You want less volatility in the portfolio.
Exactly. Thanks for clarifying that for everyone. And basically ETFs, if you have a limited amount of money for savings, it allows you to have that diversification rather than, buying 2 shares of a couple different companies with $1,000, right?
Exactly. And I mean, ETFs have been proven to have great success as opposed to individual stock selection. You can never really time the market. So instead, what we do is we We bank on basically, I always say this comment is a rising tide raises all the boats, right? So it's your ability to get off of the boat before the tide comes down. And that's really what BlackRock are true experts here, is taking that growth and just really just shifting the holdings inside of the portfolio, as opposed to saying, let's buy this stock, let's sell this stock. We're not day traders by any means. Instead, we're more financial planners, retirement planners, saying we need this return on investment minimum, and you need to save this much every single month, so that when you are ready to retire, you have enough savings as a nest egg to pay yourself this amount of money until death, right? Taking into consideration inflation, taxation, government benefits. The calculator is fantastic. It does all of this for us. It's really just getting to know you a little bit better, and deciding what target date fund makes sense for you.
Mhm. And in terms of expected returns, do you have ballpark numbers for someone in a 5, 10 year, what the expected returns would be for someone as a medical student with a high equity portfolio, let's say a mid-risk portfolio, what kind of returns they would be expecting?
Yeah, for sure. Past returns aren't indicative of future returns, but if you just look at the portfolio composition and look at previous returns on investment off those portfolio compositions, let's say you have 90% equities and 10% real estate investment trust, you're looking at that like 9 to 10% figure net of fees, right? So it's very in line with the market benchmark, like S&P 500. If you look at what has the S&P 500 produced every single year since inception, it's going to be close to 10%, right? The true value here is when the market comes down, right? It's that consistency of returns, as opposed to having an individually constructed portfolio of stocks, which will be definitely a little more volatile. The key thing here is the consistency of the returns on investments. And again, as you approach retirement, your composition will tactically shift. So you can expect your return on investment to come down a little bit, but that means that the volatility in the portfolio will also come down. And that's done purposefully. Okay, it's done purposefully because it is proven to be the most optimal path for achieving the greatest amount of wealth and return on the portfolio.
That's great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then one other question in terms of the plan. Let's say a student is planning to buy a house in the next 5 years. I'm assuming that the advisor they're working with will be able to help take that into consideration while they're constructing their asset allocation.
100%. A lot of the questions that we ask will be qualitative and quantitative, right? So during this enrollment process of discovery, they'll say, you know what, I want to save for a down payment for a house, right? So, the next step would be, okay, have you ever bought a house before? No. Okay, great. You have these incentives, RSP, first time home buyer, right? And we will go through the process of explaining what that is, how it can benefit the member. So let's make the savings into an RSP to get the dual benefit of having tax deferred income in the future, as well as getting that first-time homebuyer benefits through the RSP. We will also utilize TFSAs and things like that, but definitely we will take that into consideration, and we will select appropriate investments based off of that short-term goal, right? Anything less than 5 years for me is a short-term goal. I wouldn't want you to need additional savings if the market goes sideways. We're going to make sure that it's done in such a way where we can capture some growth and then take money off the table as we approach that target date, basically.
That's great. Yeah, exactly. So it's more than just uh, an avenue to put your money in to grow it. It also provides that feedback and information that a lot of us are needing, and it saves us time looking online to figure out what is best, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you need, as a medical student and eventually a medical practitioner, you will need significant, financial strategy, right? The goal here is to maximize what you keep, right? Meaning paying as little taxation as possible. And whether you are incorporated making hundreds and hundreds of thousands in the corporation, or whether you're a medical student, we will always assess that and give you the right, holistic advice on how to maximize your financial picture in that sense.
Right. And just to clarify, so within this savings, this group plan, you're working one-on-one with an advisor. Is that right?
Correct. We have a plan administrator. They're called Commonwealth. They basically they join the advisors if the advisors is not tenured in this new platform, and together the member, the advisor, and the company Commonwealth, we work to basically set them up for success in terms of finding a little bit more about them, what their goals are, setting up an RSP, a TFSA, giving them the proper investments inside of that, setting up the monthly contributions, and then we basically track the performance, and we have regulatory follow-ups, periodic follow-ups, to make sure that they are on track to hit that goal.
So getting into the financial advisor piece of it, I often get asked the question, when should I get a financial advisor? Or, when is the right time? What should I look for in a financial advisor? All of those questions. So I'm wondering if a first or second year medical student came up to you and asked you, when I should get a financial advisor, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, a financial advisor will be critical sooner or later, because as a medical practitioner, you're going to have very complex needs. Okay. You're going to have a corporation, like I had mentioned, that's going to need to implement strategies to reduce taxation, extract earnings tax efficiently from the corporation, put net earnings to work. However, for a first or second year med student nowadays, we live in a fintech world. You should start by just opening up a TFSA, build some savings. Once you begin practice and incorporate, you should definitely look for a financial advisor. You could say that not everyone's the same, that some have better financial literacy and are okay with an online platform, but online platforms don't offer you estate planning. Online platforms won't recommend corporate structure. They won't assist you with setting up a holding company, and so on, right? So really, you need a financial advisor, not only for the investment component of it, but really and truly for the whole holistic financial planning aspect of it.
Right, exactly. And so I'm sure over half of the physicians, they do end up going with MD Financial for financial advisor. But there are, of course, other financial advisors out there that physicians may go with. And one of the benefit with someone like MD Financial would be that they exclusively work with doctors. OMA Insurance are exclusively working with doctors. So they have that information in place, which is kind of an added benefit. That the person you're working with is providing advice for many, many doctors out there and is well rehearsed in all of these topics. But let's say if a medical student is interested in exploring different financial advisors and interviewing a few, are there any specific questions that a medical student should ask when looking for a financial advisor?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first and foremost, what licenses do you hold? Right? I mean, you want someone with a chartered financial planning designation, because then they have a fiduciary duty to you. Many advisors at the bank have financial advisor titles, but they don't have or hold a CFP. They've only taken a securities course, and they don't really have a fiduciary duty to you. I mean, regulators are trying to change this, Adrian. Banks are pushing back on this. It's like, let me take a medical course, okay, and call myself a doctor, right? These financial advisors really, they take a course, they're given the title, they can really only provide mutual funds, which have high MERs. It's ridiculous. Here in Canada, we have some of the highest management fees in the world. So that's something that you should ask is, what value am I getting for the fees that I'm paying? You need value for what you pay, and the individual should be able to do multiple things, right? Next, you should ask how they are compensated. What solutions they are offering. Financial planning. Do they offer insurance? Are they MFDA licensed, or are they IROC licensed? You really want a one-stop shop. And for a physician, maybe the bank's branch will not have everything you need. I mean, it will have kind of your day-to-day banking stuff, but the branch is really for the average Joe, not for a medical practitioner that has a lot of needs. Focus on a wealth management firm such as MD Financial or any other private wealth management division of a bank. And really this is what the OMA is trying to achieve with our ARP program. And there's going to be a lot of exciting things coming in the future with this as well.
That's great. Yeah, I think it really helps medical students if they're deciding to take that route. Like, there's a lot of important questions that you should ask if you are looking outside, and you want to make sure that the person has the best interests for the individual.
Definitely.
So now that I have you, I'm going to ask one more question. It's a little kind of a different path here, but one question we get a lot from medical students is whether they should consolidate their government loans, such as OSAP and other debt, with their line of credit. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Okay, well, you definitely want to consolidate high interest bearing debt into low interest bearing debt, right? I mean, a quick example, you got a credit card that's maxed at 20%, but your line of credit interest rate is 7. You're going to save 13% annually. So on that note, you want to look at what interest rates are on your OSAP and on your line of credit. Is there a grace period on your OSAP? Is your line of credit only interest, and is it open, meaning you can dump money in at any time without a penalty? Of course, the best solution would be technically a home equity line of credit, which will charge you the lowest interest rate in the market, but not everyone has a home, especially medical students still trying to figure that out. So I would explore options for loans that have the lowest rates you could possibly get. Consolidation only works if the interest rate is better, meaning it is lower, right? And is it worth it, right? Switching, is it worth it for a 1% difference annually? Well, it really depends. Is there any fees to do that? I mean, it's there's a lot more questions that goes into this, but definitely consolidating high interest bearing debt to low is a good idea. It will free up some cash flow. You can redeploy that cash flow into a TFSA.
That's great. Thanks, Guillermo. I appreciate it. So we're kind of coming to the end of the podcast here. I just wanted to give the opportunity to provide any final thoughts or words of advice to the medical students and residents listening in.
Yeah, for sure. I would say, give me or any OMA advisor a call or send us an email. As an OMA member, it is your right to know what programs are available to you. So, we could definitely chat, go over a demonstration of the program to see if it makes sense for you, kind of give you that visual representation of the platform so that you're familiar with it, and maybe get you going if that's something that you're interested in.
That's great. And we'll put the savings plan link to the website in the podcast description, as well as Guillermo's email, if that works for you, if anyone has any questions.
Sounds good, Adrian. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure.
No, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and learning more about your role with OMA Insurance, as well as the important insights into how medical students can begin saving for the future and when to begin looking for a financial advisor. I just want to thank our listeners for tuning in. If you have any questions or show ideas, please email us at businessandmedicinepodcast@gmail.com, all one word, or follow us on Facebook at Business and Medicine Podcast. Take care.